Welcome to the Contrarians, where we are right and you are wrong. I'm Julio.
And I'm Alex. Here on the show, we rage against the Rotten Tomatoes machine. For the first half of each episode, Contrarians Corner, we trash the fresh red tomatoes and praise the rotten green splotches, making our case any way we can.
The aptly titled Real Talk serves as the second half of each episode. This is where we discuss our true feelings on the movie we're covering. For more information on our podcast and to browse past episodes, you can head over to our website, wearethecontrarians.com.
From there, you can also access our Patreon and merchandise, because capitalism.
If you enjoy our attempts at comedic film discussions, we encourage you to subscribe and leave us a review on whatever podcatcher you use.
If you'd like to reach out to us directly, that's what social media is for. You can find us on most platforms as @ContrarianPrime.
You can also see what we look like if you go to youtube.com/@ContrarianPrime, and you can contact us by email at wearethecontrarians@gmail.com.
I think that covers it.
Then it's time for the podcast. And we are recording for Contrarians Corner for Dennis the Menace.
Hello and welcome to the Contrarians, where we're right and you're wrong. I guess I should have said hello, listeners. We're here to discuss Dennis the Menace. We'll dabble in the history of this comic strip turned live action film in the second half of the episode. But for all intents and purposes here in Contrarians Corner, we're just going to be discussing the 1993 film. Why we're discussing it, we'll talk about momentarily. But Julio, did Dennis the Menace make it to Peru?
He did. He was not Dennis the Menace, though. He was, what would be the translation? Because he was Daniel el Travieso. So already wrong, right? Because Dennis does not translate to, like, Daniel is Daniel. So they changed his name. And then Travieso is to be, like, kind of misbehaved. So Daniel who misbehaves was the title. But it was the same kid, with his dog and Mr. Wilson. They just can't do literal translations in Peru for some reason.
Did they have Walter Matthau in Peru?
We do not have Walter Matthau at home. No.
Okay.
there is no live action version of Dennis the Menace in Peru. There was I don't even know. I guess there were comic books, not like comic strips, but comic books of Dennis the Menace.
Yeah, I do remember those. Yeah, Julio, when this landed on our lap, though, did you expect it to be such a star-studded affair as far as the writer and director?
No, I knew that it was Walter Matthau and I knew it was Lea Thompson because I watched this movie a long time ago when I was a kid. But man, when I think John Hughes, I think way like in the past as like the 80s. I don't think the 90s.
No.
Is that the same to you? Do you think when you hear John Hughes, you're thinking Breakfast Club,
Ferris Bueller,
16 Candles, right? The 80s classics. You don't think of him as like somebody that made the jump to the 90s, but he did because he was involved in a lot of stuff, just not as a director.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think of like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is a big one that comes to mind. Home Alone, he wrote those movies, and those are early 90s. So I think we'll talk about that a little more in the second half. I imagine the marketing for this, and it'll be very curious when we get to our post-credits and we discuss the trailer, if it relied heavily on from the writer of Home Alone. Because, spoiler alert, this movie made over $100 million. So, still had the fastball.
Do you think they have a shot just for the trailer of Dennis putting aftershave on his face?
And Walter Matthau going, "Suck brick, kid." Yeah. But not to be outdone with John Hughes behind the pen, The Shape directed this movie, Julio.
That was the bigger surprise. I recognize the name, and I'm like, surely there are other Nick Castles in Hollywood.
I always remembered he directed Major Payne, but I had this was my first viewing of this, and so I didn't know, and I just audibly laughed out loud when and Michael Myers film. And in my research of other things he was doing around this point in time, he was originally supposed to be the director of Hook, but then Steven Spielberg came and said, "Nah, I'll take it from here."
He just grabbed him by the collar, moved him out of the Hook set, and put him in the Dennis the Menace set.
And because of that, Nick Castle wouldn't act again until 2018. Yes, Dennis the Menace is here. He was here long before Julio and I. He will be around long after we leave this earth. But this movie, 1993, and starring what's this young man's name? Mason Gamble, who in going over his filmography, I had a what? So we'll circle back to that in real talk. Walter Matthau, very problematic Christopher Lloyd, and yes, the one, the only Lea Thompson, with some random appearances along the way. We have Natasha Lyonne, Paul Winfield, Ben Stein, who I don't believe has any like dialogue in this movie. He's just you blink and you miss it. But with the John Hughes connection, that makes a lot of
Right.
sense. And then also a disgraced child actor, Devin Rattray,
Is
Buzz.
that Buzz?
Yeah.
Okay. Playing the stud in this movie.
Yeah, which let's move on. And as Julio referred to him, not to move past Joan Plowright, a very omnipresent force in the realm of 90s film. But Robert Stanton, which Julio, you quizzically referred to as not Ed Helms.
I mean, was I right or what?
I could definitely see the Nard Dog in this role. Yes, I will give you that. Yeah.
There's another universe where instead of hangover movies, what brings Ed Helms to feature films is a Dennis the Menace reboot.
It's possible. But Julio, why are we talking about this movie today?
Well, after a big stretch of fresh movies on the main feed, we finally have a rotten one leading us into our summer event. This comes to us courtesy of patron Ben Murray, Filmbusters Ben. I think I referenced it last episode maybe when I mentioned this. He said he wanted us to give Dennis the Menace the Dunston checks in treatment. What does that mean, Alex? Does that mean that we take a product of the 90s and we just give it a big, warm 2026 embrace? We just polish it and we extol its virtues?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out because didn't like the closing sentiment of Dunston Checks In was we were better off when there was a time where movies like this got made, but that doesn't mean this is a good movie. Wasn't that?
I mean, I guess if you boil it down to like the very basics, that was the final decree. But I think it was a very loving episode.
Oh,
Don't
yes.
you agree? Yeah. So I think that maybe Ben is just expecting us to do the same here, to just share in the nostalgia of when we made movies like this. And when you had Walter Matthau and Lea Thompson and Christopher Lloyd just all together being absolutely game for this type of PG. It's PG, right? It's not G.
Oh, yeah. It has to be. There's so much like dick and balls humor in this, too.
Yes.
And like they're just obsessed with putting things up Christopher Lloyd's ass in this movie, man. And the very weird thing of, I don't miss this trope of the 90s where kids trying to explain like what sex is.
Sex! It's still sex!
Like that, there's still like a place for that. Like I always think of Modern Family when the three kids walk in on Phil and Claire having sex and the two daughters are old enough to know what was going on, but Luke is like, well, it looks like whatever they were doing, Dad was winning. Like, he doesn't know. Like, that's funny. But in this, there's two moments of like Dennis explaining like what sex is or what he thinks it is. It's very uncomfortable.
One of them is actually pretty funny, maybe even reassuring. Just the fact that not Ed Helms gets laid at least once a week.
With Lea Thompson, the way she looks in this movie, God bless him.
Yes. I mean, before church. It's fantastic. I love that little detail. That's what we call world building, Alex. But going back to this movie being obsessed with sodomizing Christopher Lloyd. I mean, you are the one that's always reminding listeners and me that that's universal. That nothing's funnier than seeing some guy getting kicked in the balls or kicked in the butt and
balls specifically. A man getting kicked in the balls. But in this movie, yes, Christopher Lloyd. He was like 2 steps away from shouting "Great Scott!" and like after sitting on a cactus or something. There's like an ember from or like a coal from this fire goes up his butt, and then it's implied that his trademark knife goes up his butt. It's a lot going on there, man.
I mean, John Hughes is human, Alex, and he had to transition from the 80s to the 90s. So
the point is, yes, this is PG because the humor. It borders on parental guidance needed.
Okay, well, parental guidance needed. You're prepared now in case you haven't watched Dennis the Menace yet. But I think, and actually I know because Ben sent us some thoughts about Dennis the Menace. I know that Ben thinks fondly of this movie. So the goal here is for him to, whether we are being sincere or not, since this movie is rotten 28% on Tomatometer, he wants to hear us be nice about it. And then hopefully, I guess in real talk, we end up being just as gracious to it as we were to Dunstan Checks In. No live action monkey in this movie. So already Dennis is starting a little behind the starting line, but
It does have Walter Matthau pratfall, though, in which he does the splits.
that is practical, right? That is not.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Doesn't love movie magic, because I thought maybe they did that thing where there's a hole on the floor, and so he's
It looks so common. Like, it's practical, yes, in the sense that there's like these two like dowels that they put pajamas on to split out. But yeah, it's
okay. No, well, see, I thought that maybe it was actually Walter Matthau doing the splits.
keeping hope alive, baby.
He's an actor. All right. Well, 28%, Alex, on the tomato meter. A little higher on the popcorn meter, 39%, but still, it's a flipped over popcorn bucket. Sad. Spilling out. Only 25 critic reviews. Can you believe that?
What a shame.
You would think John Hughes would merit more critics throwing their hats in the ring, but not the case. Are you ready for some quotes?
Let's do it.
Bring me something good!
Okay. Funnily enough, by the way, I don't know if it's just for specific movies or something that they just rolled out, but the Rotten Tomatoes app now, in addition to the consensus, it also has that tomato meter breakdown. But
Okay.
it really doesn't give you that much more information than what you get when you look at the landing page. 'Cause it just says 28%. It tells me 7 fresh, 18 rotten. And it's like, okay, well, I could have counted them. 25 reviews. Moving on to the first fresh quote from our very own Marjorie Baumgarten from the Austin Chronicle. She says, "A movie that makes you leave the theater with thoughts of having yourself and your neighbors spayed is not a good thing." I would say it's a public service.
We actually have the adult in this that is one of the villains because she flaunts not having children.
I think that this movie is pretty subversive. Anybody watching it that has a little bit of common sense can tell that regardless of the text of what we're seeing on the surface, this movie knows, and this movie is trying to tell us, that kids are terrible. They're
Yes.
little monsters. Walter Matthau is right the entire movie. We see him have a, what I guess you would call a face turn, Alex, at the end of the movie when he
Correct.
embraces
Yeah.
the little monster. But if you know, you
Immediately
know.
punished for it with second-degree burns on his forehead.
Yes. So I think that Hughes and Castle are playing on two levels. And yes, Marjorie, they are saying that you should get yourself spayed. If you're gonna be the kind of parent that Lea Thompson and Nodded Helms are, then just don't have kids. Don't make the rest of us suffer. Next, Ty Burr from Entertainment Weekly says, "It's an unholy mixture of peppy sadism and pious self-righteous sentiment comes straight from Hughes' crabbed cinematic heart." Crabbed cinematic heart from John Hughes. Like he's crabby?
I don't know about that. You ever seen a John Hughes film?
Yeah, he's all about sentiment. He's the Cameron Crowe of the 80s, wouldn't you say?
That's fair. Although it wasn't Cameron Crowe making movies in the 80s.
Yeah, but he wasn't Cameron Crowe yet.
Touche.
They overlapped, I'm sure. They had a little bit of a back and forth to see who was going to take over. The real question is, who's the Cameron Crowe of the 2000s? Of the 2010s.
I have no idea.
Some vacant place, a vacant spot. Next, Scott Weinberg from efilmcritic.com says, "How to turn an innocuous comic strip into an obnoxious movie." Would you say Dennis the Menace was innocuous?
I mean, it was just he had his neighbor, Mr. Wilson, that he drove crazy. And the dog. I always felt like I remembered the dog was a bigger part of it.
Yeah, is the dog that we see, because I thought it was his dog, but the dog that we see in the movie is Mr. Wilson's, right?
No, it's Dennis's. Because he has the dog at the beginning of the movie. It's just not that big of a part of the story.
Oh, that makes more sense now that he's not supposed to be in Mr. Wilson's house. I thought Mr. Wilson was the kind of guy that keeps his dog outside.
Yeah, that would make more
Because,
sense.
he's a bad guy. Anyway, I wonder how the creator of Dennis the Menace feels reading this quote saying that his comic strip was innocuous. Like, nobody cares? Like, it was bland? We're going to close with Ken Hankey from Mountain Express, Asheville, North Carolina, who channeled his inner Mr. Wilson and said, someone ought to pay for this. Taking it personally, Alex. Do you think
Definitely.
there are Dennis the Menace fans that watched this movie and felt deeply betrayed?
That would be hilarious. It's like a situation where they're angry about it. It betrayed the source material. It was betrayed. It was stabbed in the ass with a knife right in front of them,
Yeah, the ruin my childhood crowd.
Yes, there you go.
That's not how it goes. That's not. Where's the dog?
Dennis the Menace has two different dogs depending on the version. Gnasher is the black-haired dog in the British Beano comic, while Ruff is the pet dog of Dennis Mitchell in the American Dennis the Menace comic strip, and television series. So
I would act surprised at that distinction, at the fact that there was a British Dennis the Menace, but minor spoiler, whenever we get to Ben's comments in Real Talk, he does bring up the British Dennis the Menace.
yeah, I did know there was a separation of them. So he knows Gnasher because he's probably like, who the fuck is this dog? Coincidentally, a UK comic strip of the same name debuted on the same day. We'll get to that in Real Talk. So, yeah. All right, Julio, let's get to it. It is June 25th of 1993. We're at the movies.
You mind your manners and listen to Mr. and Mrs. Wilson.
5-year-old Dennis Mitchell is a constant source of mischief, especially with his retired next-door neighbor, George Wilson. This is Walter Matthau. One day, George pretends to be asleep to avoid Dennis, who mistakes this for illness and shoots an aspirin into his mouth with a slingshot. Dennis's parents, Henry and Alice, learn of the incident and are both dismayed about it, but they cannot immediately deal with it since they both have to work. As a result, they leave Dennis with his best friend, Joey McDonald, at the home of their impetuous classmate, Margaret Wade, much to Dennis's dismay. Despite Dennis and Joey's dislike for Margaret, the three work together to fix up an abandoned treehouse in the woods. Meanwhile, escaped bandit Switchblade Sam arrives in town and robs them of Margaret's China doll. So a lot to unpack here, Julio. First of all, you ever lived in a neighborhood where people just leave their front doors unlocked like this?
No. In fact, it was the complete opposite. Back home, back in Peru, I was always like very, very conscious of like closing the door and everything. And then I guess in College Station, there were times where I would just go nuts because people were not locking the doors whenever we left the apartment. And I was like, how don't you, like, bandits?
Switchblade Sam.
Did you not watch Dennis the Menace? Yeah. But I like look, there is a tie-in, because I was going to say, this is like the little town in Gremlins. That's what I was thinking, that feeling of small towns, very wholesome. Everybody gets along with everybody. There's one black sheep or two, but for the most part, it's just very, that image of old America, when everything was pretty and nice. And in Gremlins, directed by Chris Columbus, who directed Home Alone, which was written by John Hughes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember if Hughes wrote it or he was just the producer, but either way, it's part of the Hughes verse. And so maybe that's one of those John Hughes things, the little town, Pinteresque, colorful. And knowing that this is based on a comic book, I mean, it kind of made sense that that you had like the very squeaky clean characters. I don't remember enough of Dennis the Menace comic to tell you if the likenesses are right as far as the parents, but I know they got Mr. Wilson spot on. Like, Walter Matthau looks like the character from the comics, unless I'm misremembering.
Yeah. I don't know about the mom, because there's no way that you could draw someone as hot as Lea Thompson specifically in this movie is. I mean, this is up there with her and Howard the Duck for like the hottest anyone's ever looked in a movie, to be honest.
But if you have to decide, you have to choose between blonde mom Lea Thompson or brunette rocker Lea Thompson.
The Howard the Duck one, because her apartment in that movie is fucking awesome.
Her loft.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know, man. I think the problem is, like, can you leave the kid out? if we're going on a date, we're hanging out, do we have to? No, I guess, no. Howard the Duck, Lea Thompson gets to win.
Yes.
Because she's going to be telling me about her kid.
She also plays guitar in that, so.
And she does the splits for real.
Oof, brother. Moving on. Yeah, I just, when this movie started, I grew up in a town where you could leave your front door unlocked. So I would go to my friends' houses and, just kind of walk in. But I never just barged in on an old man sleeping and then started like poking his face with things and trying to, then shot an aspirin with a slingshot into his mouth. I think, Julio, we're already a bit annoyed with this Dennis character, which we're supposed to be, but in a way that's not like the laughing at it like the little kid. But I think the reoccurring theme of this, or what we're going to find ourselves coming back to, is Walter Matthau is fantastic. And when this movie does not have him, you find yourself asking, where's Walter Matthau?
Thankfully, he is basically a co-star, even though he gets the end credit.
He is. He disappears. Also, did I see correctly? Does Christopher Lloyd get top billing?
He did.
Yeah.
And at first I thought, they're doing the alphabetical. But no, because then later it swaps. Because it's Lloyd, I think Plowright, then Lea Thompson. And,
respected actress Joan Plowright.
Yes. Lending some gravitas to Dennis the Menace adaptation. Paul Winfield, I think, follows, but then there's somebody else. Winfield would be the last one because, he's a W, but there's a couple other people after him. And then you get Walter Matthau, and then you get just the block of
Paul Winfield. By the way, this movie possibly exists in the same universe as the Terminator because he's a cop in this, much like he is in the Terminator.
So this is before the city went to hell.
Yes, because he's on the, like, he's still in uniform. He's like a deputy here. He's not quite to the level that he would reach in Terminator. So
also, I think he dies in Terminator, right?
Yes, he does. So this has to be a prequel, and I don't know if they stay expressly where this is before, because Terminator's in L.A., right? That's where. Yeah. So he
transferred.
He does. He's bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and job in the real work in the big city. He's seen that he gets so desensitized by that point. But that's the deleted scene. Is he's telling when he's trying to calm down Sarah, he's like, "Let me tell you this tale about this boy who caught a vagrant robber in our hometown. His name was Dennis.
Let me tell you about Dennis Mitchell."
But I popped huge when Paul Winfield showed up because I remember like reading over the cast, like Paul Winfield, and I forgot, and then he's just like, "Hey," and I'm like, "It's Paul Winfield." While vacuuming spilled paint in the garage. Oh, going back real quick, Julio, because you are I'm known too for this. My lack of enjoyment and sometimes just overwhelming cynicism of child actors. And we do get several sequences in this movie that is just pure unadulterated child acting with, these three kids. How are you holding up here?
Yeah, those are the "Where's Walter Matthau" sequences. Look, I think not all child actors are made equal. And I think that obviously you luck out when you get a child actor that can carry a movie. I think the little kid that plays Dennis can carry a movie. But, that's like where they used up all the luck. When it comes to his cohorts, comes to, who's it, Joey? Joey, Margaret?
Joey and Margaret, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're doing what they can. But if I want to be positive about it, I would say that their greenness actually highlights how good the other kid is. Mason, what is it? Mason Gamble, right? They took a gamble with Mason and it paid off. Yeah. So, yes, Mason Gamble is not Walter Matthau, but he holds his own, especially. And you can, I think that you grow appreciative of his talent as an actor, his natural talent, I guess, because I don't know that this kid had like a whole lot of training before coming into this movie. But when you contrast him with his buddies, because those kids are just kind of, I don't know what Nick Castle was doing, and I guess he was like feeding them lines off camera and just getting them to do it like line by line. Cut. Okay, next line.
You get it wrong. I'm putting the Michael Myers mask on again.
Yeah, that's one way to do it. I mean, obviously some kids take better direction than others because Dennis is fine, and you know what? Because he's the one leading those scenes, I was okay. In fact, that was better than okay, Alex. I was like, I'm glad that they got the main kid, the kid that's playing Dennis, is actually an actor. And the other two, well, I'm just going to say, nice try. Come back for the direct-to-video sequel, but I don't think that you're ready for the big leagues. This is your one shot.
Boys are like that and girls aren't. That really stinks. Quit wasting time. Mush your lips together and let's get this over with.
Am I being too harsh? How are you feeling about these children? There's a lot of them. I mean, I know Joey and Margaret are the main ones, but there's
Yeah.
also the kid with the what's the nice way of saying it? Walter Matthau is an asshole about it. He's like, oh, that kid can't see well.
Gunther, as he is. Hank Johnson is the kid, and I never knew what this meme was from. It's a very popular meme, that shot of him with like the dirt on his nose and looking cross-eyed.
Yeah,
So now I know where it's from.
learn a new thing today.
That's right. Yeah, I had no time for it. Especially like they start to do like world building with some of the other kids, and then they abandon it like immediately, or not world building so much as like backstory and characters that they're trying to establish with them. I'll tell you who does like the kids in this movie is Switchblade Sam, Christopher Lloyd.
I think you may be reading a little too much on the one shot.
Okay,
That
what happens in this? We'll get to it momentarily, but there's this shot where these women, these mothers have their children at the park and they're on the swings and whatnot. And what we come to find is that he's trying to, rob them, like pickpocket them, and, get in their purses and take stuff. However, the shot is established as he is like dirty and greasy. I don't know if he's an escaped convict or just a career criminal. He's definitely like a vagabond of sorts, but like, which, the Wet Bandit style. John Hughes has 3 beats he can go off of. Horny Teens in Love, Kid at Home Alone, Dirty Bandits. So anyway, there's this like establishing shot of Christopher Lloyd just momentarily just watching these kids play, and the way he looks, it lasts a second, but it's a bit overwhelming at first. You're like, wait, what the fuck? Especially because he ends up kidnapping Dennis in the end.
look, in the movie's defense, that's right when Paul Winfield shows up.
It's true. And
So-
yeah, I was just about to get to that. So let me catch this up real quick, Julio. While vacuuming spilled paint in the garage, Dennis inadvertently shoots a glob of it onto George's barbecue grill. Tasting it, George suspects Dennis. Henry and Alice leave. Dennis with a teenage babysitter named Polly. This is, I always forget, Natasha Lyonne,
From American Pie fame.
amongst other things, yes.
Yes.
Who invites her boyfriend Mickey, and that is Buzz. We'll just leave that at that, to visit while sitting. Sneaking outside, Dennis pranks them by ringing the doorbell and hiding until Mickey taps a thumbtack to it. George investigates the vacuum in the Mitchell's garage and accidentally shoots himself in the buttocks with a golf ball. Classic. Hoping to confront the Mitchells, George rings the doorbell, but pricks his thumb on the tack, and Polly and Mickey, mistaking him for the prankster, douse him in water and fly. They fucking antique him. This is a classic Jackass bit here. You don't use the
This
water,
is
though.
before Jackass, after Jackass.
This is way before Jackass. This is the age difference with you and I, Julio. It's a few years, but like culturally, there's some big things in between. And that was in Jackass. So this is 2000, 2001, 2002. Antiquing was this thing Bam Margera and those guys did, where you just get a handful of flour and you throw it as hard as you can at someone's head.
And then you throw water at them? Or
No,
was that
the
just...
water, they weren't ballsy like Natasha Lyonne and Buzz. They didn't do the water bit. But so anyway, I've antiqued quite a few people in my day, and I've been antiqued myself. I can tell you, depending on where it lands, you might be wheezing for a little bit. So, and we know that George has breathing problems to begin with. But this entertains Martha, his wife. Switchblade Sam commits a string of robberies throughout town and is noticed by Chief Bennett, Paul Winfield, who subtly advises him to leave town. Dennis plays with George's dentures, losing the 2 front incisors down the drain, and replaces them with chiclets before George has his picture taken for the local newspaper. A couple things to catch up on here, Julio. The shop vac in the garage, don't ever try to clean up paint with one of those. That will ruin it very quickly. It will not result in comedic joy as it does in this movie. You can use a shop vac to like clean up water and shit. I've done that plenty, but yeah, paint is just gonna fuck it all up.
I mean, he's a kid. He doesn't know any better.
Yes, Julio, but yeah, I'm more concerned about you. I know sometimes you've asked me for advice on home improvement projects, and I'd hate for Kelly to spill some paint tomorrow, and you'd be like, well, hold on, I know what to do in this situation.
I saw this in a movie. I am more concerned with Walter Matthau knowing what paint tastes like. Do you know what paint tastes like? Like if you bit into a hamburger that had some paint in it, would you be able to say, this tastes like paint?
The only way I could tell you what if it tastes like paint would be because, I've smelled paint, so you can imagine it might taste like that, but also like the texture. I was more just like those chicken, was it? Those things. You see how hard he had to fucking saw at that thing to cut through it? Chicken should never be that hard to cut through, man. George, you need to get an air fryer, brother. Get chicken thighs, 17 minutes. Flip them halfway through.
He's retired, though. He's not interested in doing things the fast way. He wants to do them the right way.
Clearly not. Fucking charcoal grills, man. That is, I do not have the patience for that, so God bless him.
Yeah, but this is also, not entirely, but this is kind of like 50s America. Again, going back to that small town idea that John Hughes likes. This is before technology went too crazy and robbed us of the pleasures of just taking our sweet time barbecuing and just enjoying a night out on the porch while the wife knits and you watch the kids play hide and seek. I mean, that's the America that's long gone. So yeah, I can buy that Matthau. He may not have the best grill, but he has the grill that he likes. He's a real American man. But I want to let Paul Winfield go, Alex, because I gotta defend how this town operates. I think once Paul Winfield shows up, and he doesn't show up just to ask questions. He's there on a mission to run this guy out of town. So that means that somebody called the cops. Mm-hmm. They saw what you saw in that suspicious shot of Christopher Lloyd watching the kids, and they're like, "Fuck this, 911!" And then they called. Then Paul Winfield shows up. So I think that's actually a pretty solid bit of writing. You set him up as somebody suspicious, and then the cops show up. So it's not as it's not flimsy that this guy who looks nothing like anybody else in town is just walking around. The cops were onto him. I think it was sooner or later he was gonna get caught. I think Dennis maybe accelerated things.
I run a nice, clean town here, and I don't want any trouble. So my advice to you is just follow the sun on out of here.
The only reason I ain't moving on is because you stopped to give me the breeze.
How do you feel about what I think might be the most common accusation against this movie, especially once you find out that John Hughes was behind Home Alone and behind this movie? Do you think that this is just kind of a less ingenious retread of Home Alone? Do you have thoughts, feelings about the genre of small child tortures adults for the sake of entertainment?
I mean, we're about a decade shy of Saw taking over the world here. So in some ways, you might say this is ahead of its time. I know that movie doesn't necessarily single out children. Did we ever find out why he took the girl's doll? Was it? Oh, she said it was valuable, right?
She says it's valuable after the fact. I think that he's just a kleptomaniac.
Wouldn't it be awesome if he was like watching fucking Roadside Finds or Antique Roadshow and saw that? And, son of a bitch. What about you, Julio? The children torture thing.
I think that you have to have the right filmmaker, the right actors to pull it off. Kind of like what I said earlier, not everybody's Macaulay Culkin. This kid comes close, or as close as you can get. So I think that
what are the kids watching this thinking? Because this isn't peril like, fucking Simba caught in the stampede or something. This is something they could relate to. This probably scared the shit out of some kids.
But then it reassures them that everything's going to be okay. Because Dennis he's never scared. I mean, the most scare he gets is just when Walter Matthau yells at him.
Much like Bone Crusher, he is never scared.
He's just... I'm not going to say he's oblivious because he seems to be pretty aware in a way. He's just not... He's like fearless. He's like Daredevil or something. Those people that just man without fear, child without fear. There are other entries in this genre. I was thinking of Problem Child. I know we've talked about Problem Child before, maybe because of John Ritter.
Yeah, I feel like I know so much about that movie for something I've never fucking seen before. It's crazy.
There's two of them, Alex.
Yeah.
So
Carrie Von Erich's in it.
Yes. I think that those come closer to I know what you're going for, but this is not really doing it for me. I mean, it's been forever since I watched him, but I want to say that a big part of the problem is that the kid is not particularly good, and the bad guys are not memorable. Like John Ritter is the dad, so you have that part is good, but you need to have all the parts of the equation. And here, the kid is good, the parents are good, the kind of gray area character, Walter Matthau, is good, and the bad guy is good. So I think that you're never disturbed by what's happening to Christopher Lloyd, and you're also not, like, he has it coming, but he's also pretty entertaining with the suffering. Same thing with Walter Matthau. Like, did you ever feel bad for him, or were you always thinking, okay, this is just funny?
For Walter Matthau, no, I didn't feel bad for him until the end when he's getting to show off his yard, because I can appreciate a man trying to show his yard off, and that being the tipping point, I could understand and appreciate.
The shit with the mouthwash and the whatever he puts up his nose, that's just fun shenanigans.
I had a question about the dentures. You have any experience with, I don't know why I'd ask it that way. When I was a kid, my grandma Marjorie came to visit. That was my dad's mom. And she got my bed. You know how, like, when your family comes to visit, you have to sleep on the couch or the floor or some shit because, they get the bed. And I used to keep like a water cup or something. I didn't drink anything, so let's not jump ahead that quick. But like, I kept a water cup or something next to my bed, and I was in my bed playing video games and just forced a habit of it, reached over and my hand went into it. And like, I was somewhere between probably like 9 and 13, somewhere in that range. But I remember it just so vividly, like, just freaking out. Whereas Dennis here has the exact opposite reaction. He just goes all in.
As an adult, can you picture yourself playing with someone else's dentures?
No.
You're drunk enough?
No. I mean, if someone paid me to, but, if someone put in a request on my OnlyFans, maybe, but, but he doesn't care. Smart thinking, though, but why does this kid have chiclets behind like a fucking lockbox? They're just little pieces of gum.
The little treasures. That's how you are when you're a kid. You treasure rocks and bullshit that adults don't care about. I'm more concerned with. I'm more curious about how Walter Matthau, like, did he not notice that the chiclets were his dentures, or did he notice but he was like, fuck it, I guess I need to get the picture taken? But if he did, then why did he do an open mouth smile? Why didn't he just keep his smile with the mouth closed? What's your theory here? Was he aware of the chiclets in his dentures?
It doesn't seem that way. He should have been, but also in that situation, just as like, I'm also very vain, but I would check in the mirror first, do the all teeth to make sure you got nothing in between any of them. But Walter Matthau don't roll that way, baby.
I mean, he woke up late, maybe. So it was just in a hurry. All this is just harmless pranks. Again, the balance is right. The kid, he's charming enough. Walter Matthau, he doesn't really get hurt that badly. He's not going through the kind of shit that the wet bandits go through.
Oh, no serious head trauma or anything like that.
Right. He's not, bricks are not falling on his head. He's not getting electrocuted. So it's all good fun. And he gets, so when the vacuum cleaner shoots that golf ball, does it hit him in the ass or does he hit his crotch?
I looked like the way he was walking, it hit like right on his tailbone. He looked like he was in some serious pain.
So funny. It qualifies as.
Oh, yes.
It's funny. Yeah.
I guess it could. Old dudes, they sag, so. Who's to say, really?
What really matters is when you saw it, were you thinking, oh, somebody got a shot in the nuts, therefore this is peak comedy? Because I did.
Oh, yeah. Well, Walter Matthau goes through so much physical pain in this. That's hilarious. So the chiclets, Harry and Alice both have to go on business trips. You can't find anyone willing to babysit during this montage when they call the babysitters. Don't hang up by the Orleans plays. And I texted Julio that the remake will need to use Springsteen's cover of that. Just be sure not to stress the context of when he played it, how it was because America was falling apart around him.
Did you catch the duck phone?
Yes.
A precursor to the burger phone?
So we'll talk about this more in Real Talk, but obviously Bart Simpson, there's a lot of things derived from Dennis the Menace. There's an episode that is structured like an episode of a Dennis the Menace cartoon strip that we'll talk about in Real Talk, but this reminded me of that. There's that episode where they can't find a babysitter, and similar to this, Homer and Marge are just calling everyone they know, and the best one is they call a number they have in their phone book or in their little contacts log, and It's like this woman's like, no, this isn't Sherry. This is her sister. I look after her now. And she's in a rocking chair just going, no, Bart. No, Bart. Put it down.
This isn't quite as serious, but the entire time I was just thinking, man, I would be thrilled if the phone rings, I answer, and it's Lea Thompson on the other side.
No shit.
I'll be like, whatever you want. Yes, I'll watch the kid.
Yep. I'll shoot lighter fluid up my nose for you, or a toilet cleaner, I guess.
I mean, he knows he's not going to get anything unless it's a special occasion or something like that. But like every other little kid, he just wants to go in, look around.
Could you spare us the family anecdotes, please?
And then there's Martha, who is, of course, George's wife, and she's happy to take care of Dennis as the child she never had. George is infuriated when Dennis has replaced his nasal spray with mouthwash and the latter with toilet cleaner. Dennis lets his dog rough in the Wilsons' house, leading to George mistaking him for Martha. In the attic, Dennis's carelessness causes George to slip on some mothballs. So, big pratfall there from Matthau. George has been chosen to host the Garden Club's Summer Floriganza. Floriganza?
They can't even say it in the movie.
Yeah, dude, that old dude who reads it off, that's a really funny scene, too, where him and his wife are swapping glasses. That dude is, I think I used the phrase omnipresent earlier, but he is a definitive that guy of the 90s. Specifically, Seinfeld fans would know who I'm talking about. I don't even know the dude's name, but he's the guy who Kramer, Jerry looks after for like the program of helping the elderly, and Kramer and Newman try to come take all his records, and chaos ensues. But he's having spent almost 40 years growing a rare orchid that will finally bloom that night. During the party, Dennis presses the garage door button and it opens and upends the entire dessert table, much to George's fury. While the Wilsons and their guest await the flowers' nocturnal display, Switchblade Sam robs their house, stealing George's antique gold coin collection. Dennis, who heard him and discovers the empty safe, alerts George to the crime, distracting everyone from the flower's brief blooming, after which it dies. Furious and unaware that he's been robbed, George coldly chastises Dennis, who flees into the woods and is abducted by Switchblade Sam. Not Switchblade Jay White, for any wrestling fans listening. Henry and Alice arrive home to learn that he has disappeared, prompting a town-wide search, and even a guilt-ridden George sets out to look for Dennis after realizing that Dennis was telling the truth about the robbery. So, a lot to unpack here. I don't hate George, though, in this moment where he tells Dennis, you took something away from me that I can never get back. He's not going to live another 40 years.
I hate the orchid. I think that's such a ripoff. You put in 40 years for like 5 seconds of the flower blooming. I mean, that's just kind of weird. I got it. I appreciated the setup because they set this up really early in the movie. So as soon as they mentioned that it only opens at that specific time at
Chekhov's
night.
orchid.
Yeah, Chekhov's orchid. It pays off. It's great. It gives Walter Matthau, I guess it's his Oscar clip. There's another scene that I want to talk about that is more serious. That's, I guess, it's Plowright's Oscar clip. But this one, he's been putting up with so much shit from this kid. And I was like, yeah, let him have it. Somebody has to yell at this kid and tell him that he's a pain in the ass. He's a menace.
The man's a menace.
Did it. Yeah. So it was good for him.
And it results also in a really great shot of pensive Matthau when he's out in the playground looking for Dennis.
Yes. I wish he had a flashlight. I wanted everybody in town with a flashlight when they're looking for him. Like in
that'd be too real. That's like fucking Prisoners, man.
I was thinking Truman Show when they're all looking for Truman. Like Truman. They're just like marching.
It's come across Paul Dano in the woods.
God, no. Anyway, dude, the heart of the movie, the thing that really kind of makes everything matter, and the movie takes, it's time getting there because it's about the fun with the kid and the pratfalls and all that stuff. But then you get to that scene between John Plowright and Walter Matthau, and they just let these really good actors do their thing and kind of have a scene that's about something. And it also explains why they have this weird relationship with their neighbors and with their kid. And that's because they never had kids. And it becomes clear that John Plowright wishes they had, and Walter Matthau didn't want kids. It's like, I don't know, 5 minutes of the movie, but I feel that they did so much for everybody. And, John Plowright gets to say things that are pretty heavy, and they're surrounded by a silly movie, but and then Walter Matthau goes and apologizes to her. Well, he apologizes to the dog, but the sentiment is what matters. So it's kind of a lovely little thing in the middle of the movie that I think makes it so much better all of a sudden. Before that, it was just kind of fluff, but now it's like these are real people that had real issues and that they can't fix them. They can't have kids anymore. They're too old for that. So all they can do is vicariously be parents through their neighbor's child. Unfortunately, that child is a pain in the ass. Therefore, is the conflict, the crisis here in Dennis the Menace. So I thought it was great. It completely took me by surprise because this was something that I definitely didn't remember from when I watched it as a kid. Did it also kind of shake you? Or you just kind of, oh, okay, I wonder what the pratfall is going to be now. And suddenly Walter Matthau is getting emotional.
That scene definitely caught me off guard because then they definitely pace it right also because this is the scene for the parents or maybe even the grandparents that are there. And it does go long enough to be impactful, but not long enough if I'm a little kid to lose my attention because then he kisses a dog and it's funny again.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is good good editing, good pacing. Nick Castle knew what he was doing.
I was about to say, you get the shape behind the lens, and
he learned from the best.
He did.
Learned from Carpenter.
That's pacing, baby.
Connected to this sequence, though, Alex, is, John Plowright does her poem to Dennis to put him to sleep. And as she's reading the poem, or kind of reciting it from memory, we get the cuts. We get the Home Alone 2 cuts to... Home Alone 2 when I guess Kevin is looking out the window or something, and then we cut to Catherine O'Hara in her hotel, wherever it is they are.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And here we get both of them. We get cut to not at Helms wherever he is. Didn't care, but then we cut to Lea Thompson at her hotel bed. And did you notice? You have to because there's a close up that she's wearing her engagement ring to bed. That is kind of like a boss move. Not even her wedding ring. Because she has a big diamond on it.
I didn't notice that, to be honest.
She's in bed. She's kind of like obviously thinking about her kid. And then she moves her hands. And then the camera, we get a close-up of her hands. And there's the ring. And it's the ring that has a big diamond. And then it goes back to the wider shot. And she keeps thinking about her kid. And then we're gone. And I'm like, what are you trying to tell me? Hughes, Castle, whose idea was this? Was it Lea Thompson? She came to set that day. And she's like, hey, how about... She's the kind of woman that wears her engagement ring, to bed.
Maybe she's tussling it because she's unhappy with her marriage.
Is she unhappy with her marriage, or is she using it to ward off any potential suitors?
And she probably had many. You imagine her out on a business trip by herself? How many people are just like, "Can I carry your bags, ma'am?"
Yes. And then they see the picture of her husband and are like,
yeah, exactly.
Okay. Can I buy you a drink?
Yeah. Switchblade Sam prepares to leave town with Dennis as an unsuspecting hostage, but grows annoyed with Dennis's consistent talking. Showing Sam the proper way to tie him up, Dennis handcuffs Sam, loses the key, unintentionally bludgeons him multiple times, and sets him on fire. As Dennis discovers George's stolen coins and realizes that Switchblade Sam is a thief, Sam attempts to stab Dennis, but is snarled in the rope and is caught by a passing train and stabbed in the buttocks with his own knife. Hoisted by his own petard, Julio, subduing Sam too much to do anything further. I would say so. The next day, Dennis returns home with the captured, injured Switchblade Sam and George's recovered coins, much to the relief of George and the whole town. Switchblade Sam is arrested, and Dennis naively returns his knife. Sam attempts to stab Dennis again, but Chief Bennett accidentally closes the car door on his hand, causing Sam to drop the knife into a storm drain and wince in pain before being driven away, with all the neighborhood children taunting him. So Dennis looks like a bit of a badass here. And if Dennis was, he's a 5-year-old kid, but if he pulled this same stunt when he's like a fucking senior in high school, the ending of this movie would have been different in terms of women fawning over him, the local town high school girls and stuff. Because he saves the day and pulls up like a badass with the fucking bandit tied up in his red wagon.
Natasha Lyonne would just leave Buzz behind. Like, hey, Dennis, what are you doing tonight?
Now we're entering a weird realm because it's babysitter, but yes.
Did you notice that Christopher Lloyd is wearing prosthetics? Like his nose?
He's so greasy and just gross looking in this movie.
I had to look it up.
He did do a lot of the Christopher Lloyd faces, though.
Yes. He's very recognizable as Christopher Lloyd, but I'm like, something is off with him. And so I Googled it. I was like, does Christopher Lloyd wear prosthetics in Dennis the Menace? And the answer is yes. Yeah, that he chose to do it. Because I guess he wanted to get in character. He wanted to be nothing like Doc Brown. So I guess mission accomplished. Because it's, the nose. And I guess I didn't think about it, but it said that he was also a fake chin. And of course, his teeth are all messed up there.
He's Guy Pearce in Prometheus.
Yes. Way before Prometheus. He was a trailblazer when it came to prosthetics. He's great. Christopher Lloyd, like, I always think of him as an old dude. Because, Doc Brown was my first experience with Christopher Lloyd. And so Doc Brown, he's not like super old, but he looks older, I guess, than he really is because of the white hair and the wild hair. And so when I think Christopher Lloyd, I don't think the kind of stunts that he's pulling in this movie, in the third act, where he gets thrown around and he gets set on fire and he farts.
He does fart. Yeah, he lights one.
Not crazy about the fart jokes, but I did laugh at the close-up of his belly, just all swollen because he's eaten
so many beans.
Yeah, that was a massive can of beans. Have you ever seen one that big?
That's like fucking apocalypse shit. They buy that at Costco if you're doomsday prepping. That is a far cry from Rorschach's, very humble can of beans that he takes at Night Owl's place.
They bring him back. Dennis brings back Christopher Lloyd. I was thinking it would be really funny if he's just dragging the corpse of Christopher Lloyd. It's been a whole day, he's just been passed out there. That's the moment where I guess the movie, who has the arc in this movie? It's not Dennis, it's Mr. Wilson. Walter Matthau embraces him. It's just it goes back to the beginning of the movie when we hear his bike before we see him and everybody's hiding from him. And now we hear the bike and everybody embraces him. Most of all, Walter Matthau. I bought it. I'm assuming you did too, unless you're heartless.
Oh yeah, no, it was a tender embrace. I cared more about that than him being reunited with his parents, to be honest.
Yeah. Even though they were more worried, I think.
Yes.
Matthau was having the PTSD of where he could hear the things that he had said throughout the movie, and he was feeling really bad about it. But yeah, that's a relationship we care about, and I mean that embrace does it all. I think that whatever missteps the movie may have had, the less than stellar child actors and some of the jokes, maybe buzz, none of it matters by the time that this kid and the neighbor that he was torturing, they just make up and they embrace, and it shows kind of like how resilient kids are too, which is pretty endearing, because Dennis comes back to town and he greets Mr. Wilson like nothing happened the night before. Mm-hmm. Like Mr. Wilson didn't just absolutely destroy him with that speech that he gave him, where he's like, I don't want to know you, I don't want to see you. That's like awful shit. If he had been saying that to an adult, like they wouldn't speak for months. But little 5-year-old, he comes back next day and says, hey, do you want to play? It's very winsome.
Guess what?
What?
I got your gold back.
The Wilsons and Mitchells make amends, and Alice mentions that she won't be traveling for work anymore and can bring Dennis to work with her because the office has a daycare center. George and Martha insist that they'd be happy to watch Dennis right before Dennis accidentally flings a flaming marshmallow into George's forehead. During a credit scene, Dennis unwittingly causes Alice's egotistical coworker Andrea to be caught in the copy machine and have her agonized face be copied many times before freeing herself. This is literally one of the ways Chucky killed someone in Child's Play 1 or 2. It's like a copying machine death where he kills a woman and she falls on the copy machine and it starts making pictures of her dead. So a bit morbid,
I think the best / worst part of this is that Lea Thompson knows what's going to happen and she leaves the room.
Yeah, very, very strange, joy written on her face. It's like, my son's going to annoy the fuck out of this person. I hate this bitch. Take this. Here's my kid.
But do you think that she keeps her job after this?
Lea Thompson?
Yeah.
I mean, I would imagine so.
Her kid's being so disruptive that he gets kicked out of the...
Okay, he was right. Yeah, it was Child's Play 2. It was the actress that he kills with the fucking ruler, the yardstick that he beats her to death with. That's right. Sorry, I couldn't remember if that was the same scene or not. And it is. I'm depressed that I knew that just off the top of my head, but
It's horror.
it's true.
And now you can compare it to Dennis the Menace. When it comes up, people are like, well, did you know that there is an end credit scene? And actually, not even end credit scene. This is like side credit scene. This is the way that they should always do them now.
Correct.
So you don't have to wait till the very end. Instead, you have the credits rolling by the side, and this just plays on a smaller side of the screen. That's all you need. It works. It's a fun joke. I don't think it's as strong an ending as the first one. What takes us to credits is that close-up of Walter Matthau with a marshmallow, flaming marshmallow on his forehead. Like, that is iconic. That should be the Criterion cover.
No, the Criterion cover is like, it's the marshmallow that like it's fallen on the ground. It's like on the pavement there. Yeah.
Happy ending, I think, for everybody.
Oh yeah. Send the audiences home happy and then send the kids home laughing with the copier stunt there. Yeah, Child's Play 2 is 90, so Nick Castle was watching that and like, we can use that somehow.
Let's make it a little more lighthearted.
Let's dog ear that. We'll circle back.
Do you think, there's two types of parents. The parents that watch the movie and their kids are not like Dennis, and so they're like, I love my kid. I appreciate my kid so much because he's not like that. And then there are the parents that have kids like Dennis, but they completely miss the point. They're like, oh, thank God our kid's not like that, but their kid's exactly like that. Or do you think that there were parents that had the realization after they watched the movie, they're like, fuck, that is my kid. And he's really annoying to everybody else.
I don't know, man. There's that episode Everyone Loves Raymond I always think of where there's people they try to make friends with. The kid's name is Spencer because I just remember the kid's so annoying and they try to like make the parents realize that they need to correct his behavior and they don't. I don't know. Hopefully it was a wake-up call for some people.
That's Nick Castle doing the Lord's work because, you hide it inside a kid's movie.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about it before. If we had some parents on here with us, they would tell us you and I are not qualified to speak on the matter because we don't have children. But people who let their kids run amok and they don't like impose any sort of discipline or boundaries on them to the point where it affects other people. In this case, Walter Matthau, just going through abject hell, do better.
Look, I don't have kids, but I did watch a movie that was about kids.
Yes, I'm qualified to speak on this.
Yeah, I can speak on behalf of Walter Matthau and everybody else being terrorized by Dennis. So, no, it's a give and take. I'm not going to tell you about your kid, but I'm going to tell you about kids that are like your kid.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
If the glove fits, you must acquit and all that.
Theoretically speaking.
Are you ready for real talk, Alex?
Most certainly.
Let's do it.